Well, as the NFL labor talks continue down to the wire, in today's State of the Union segment, we are taking a look at sports unions. Is there something that private sector or public sector unions can learn from how they operate? Robert Romano is a sports attorney and the head of the Romano Sports and Entertainment Agency. He has represented athletes, coaches, and front office personnel throughout his career. Robert, pleasure to have you in. You just saw you and I were sitting here through Michelle's report. How do you think this is going to end? Let's just skip right to the chase.
It's going to end. It's going to end with an agreement finally. When that's going to happen is unknown at this time.
You think it'll happen today?
I highly doubt it'll happen today.
Another postponement then?
There could be a continuance or an extension of the current collective bargaining agreement that they're under right now. Or they could say at 5 o'clock the union's going to decertify themselves and the owners are going to lock them out.
What happens in the event of decertification of a union? Where do we go from there?
The owners the players will decertify themselves, and then they'll go to court and ask Judge Doty, who oversees the federal court in Minnesota, to injunct the owners from locking them out. Okay, so the owners cannot lock them out. The owners are going to go and lock them out. So then they're going to have a hearing probably in 5 to 10 days to see if the owners have the ability to lock the players out or not.
Where do you stand on the battle sort of between the players and the owners?
They're battling over billions of dollars. All right? The owners want another $1 billion off the top, and the players want a bigger piece of that pie too. So we're talking here of two titans basically wanting a bigger piece of the pie. But I think the only ones that really lose out are the fans.
You know, one of the primary issues, though, one of the big sticking points is just how many billions, right? It's about transparency, and it seems somewhat reasonable. We talk a lot about public companies here, that owners should disclose their financials.
We're talking about, it's estimated the NFL generated around $9.3 billion last year. And the owners are saying that they built new stadiums, they have higher football-related costs, so they need a bigger piece of the pie. The players are saying, okay, but we want to see the books. We want to make sure that these expenses are what you're saying they are. So transparency is a question, but again, they're a private company. Each individual team is a private company. What obligation do they have to show their employees their books?
Over the last few days, we've been talking quite a bit about unions. We've been talking about private unions. We've been talking about public employee unions. And certainly in terms of private sector, it seems to be as if unions are getting to a point where they're not nearly as powerful as they once were. Is that the same for sports players' unions?
I think right now Major League Baseball has a very powerful union. The NFL's union in the past has been a little weaker than Major League Baseball, but they are showing a united front. They are sticking together right now. You know, what's going to happen when the season starts and each of the players is not getting their $1 million paycheck every week or their $300,000 paycheck each week, that's a different story.
Now, a lot of questions that come up, or one of the big questions that comes up when it relates to unions that some people ask is, do we need unions any longer? What would happen to the NFL should there not be a players' union?
If the players' union decertifies themselves, each player will be an independent contractor, basically, and have a right to negotiate individually with the team. It'll be a little bit more
the owners would have too much power.
The owners would have too much power. The owners would have the leverage because the only body that looks out for the players right now is the union.
Now, these unions, let me ask you this, in watching what's happening around the country, Wisconsin in particular, how do NFL or sports unions, players' unions, compare to other types of unions?
Well, first off, the unions are much smaller. The NFL union roughly has 1,800 members. Also, they're used to acting as a team. They are from teams, and they're used to acting as one body for a goal, as opposed to teachers' unions, which are much larger and maybe don't have that team effort to them.